You can do that at the same time. You're sort of creating a community, the repeat listeners, around very specific topics that can be really powerful because those audiences are going to be very engaged because they know you know your stuff. It's a specific thing they want. They're experiencing content fatigue with other forms like blogs and white papers. They just want a person talking to them more, I think. And I think that's what we're doing here.
I think the humanizing part is a big, big deal because I think you have this rise of podcasting that comes at the same time, coincidentally or not, with the rise of AI. And I was talking to somebody the other day, are we going to start stamping 100% grade A human created on our content like we stamp on like a package of organic beef? Are we going to get to that in the AI revolution? So I think, in this whole era of AI, people crave authenticity, and a podcast is a really good way to do that. Like to Ian's point, it humanizes your brand. We market ourselves all the time. We've got our blog, we've got our newsletter, we've got all of our things, but I think people really get to know us as human beings here on Fired Up. For better or for worse, maybe they get to see our personalities come out, but it's a great chance because, I always say B2B buyers, they're humans too. And so, you have to connect with them on that level. So I think any opportunity you have to humanize your brand is a very good thing.
Podcasting had a real heyday during the pandemic, and you saw a number of brands, Spotify bought Gimlet, etc., during that sort of move in to try and double down on it. Since the pandemic, it dropped dead. We had a little sort of podcasting bubble around that time, but listenership has steadily increased and will continue to increase. Funnily enough, sort of return to the office, I feel, has put some more momentum behind podcast listening because now you've got a commute, you're sitting on public transit, you're in your car or whatever. Again, it's a great way to reach your audiences. So it's had a little bit of resurgence. As we've seen with the election, we're going to see this continue. Why do we think that it works for B2B audiences, Ian?
B2B audiences are generally talking about complex topics that don't translate as well into shorter formats. For a lot of folks, they don't want just the article on what is this. They want that next step, how to do it, when to do it. They give B2B companies an opportunity to, like we were talking about, layer in that authentic voice and educate the market, like a willing audience that's there to be educated. 74% of podcast listeners are tuning in because they're knowledge seeking. They want to learn new things. They're not just tuning in to hear a celebrity be famous, right? They actually want information. And that really aligns well with what B2B folks, their own behavior is that information seeking, get me to the people who know what they're talking about. And a lot of those folks, they may be more senior. They may not be in the trenches and want to go down and say, hey, so how does this AI thing work in comms? Or ask those technical questions. A lot of times, these are the folks who are sort of have established careers. 45% of podcast listeners have an annual household income of $250,000 or more. That could be a couple that's well into their careers. That's a valuable audience that, let alone on the B2C side, those are the folks who are making a lot of the decisions in the trenches.